Hi, my talk title is Cryptohistory 2009 to 2050. I'm the CEO of Token Communities, which is now, in about a week, will be publicly traded in the US. Our big offices are in Gibraltar and in London and Mayfair. And this is a talk that doesn't sell anything, doesn't pitch anything. It's just my views on where crypto has been, where it is, and where it's going. And it's meant to invite a broader conversation. Normally, I have a half an hour to speak. I've never had 14 minutes, so I guess I better go. So I'll start off with my thesis. The ultimate purpose of the blockchain is to maximize government and corporate legitimacy and human-machine intelligence and minimize the latency of achieving consensus. The consensus mechanism is the great part, along with immutability and permissionless. Basically, people can get into this whether governments or companies want them to. Legitimacy, in my mind, is generated by doing three things out of three consistently. Seek the truth, speak the truth, practice what you preach. I was at Communist C, which I guess is community at sea or community lunacy, and I had a lot of top people in crypto, and I was very glad to see that Roger Ver really loved this thing, and he repeated it many times. I think of latency as like it's delay, but it's also like a syntax on bad architecture and infrastructure to measure in milliseconds of how many hops or errors or how much inadequate computing there is. And I've been thrilled. I spent almost all day yesterday on the New York Stock Exchange looking at how long it takes to do things. So in the crypto community, people say, well, the fiat community is dealing with T+3. So things trade and then they settle 3 days later. Now they're down to T+2. And one of the big potentials for crypto to replace everything is for us to have the trade be the settlement, have those things happen at the same time. So what we're doing is we're moving from a world of Web 2.0 apps to Web 3.0 distributed applications, or dApps. We're going to change the browser, we're going to change storage, we're going to change video and audio calls, the operating system, social network messaging, all kinds of queuing of jobs. And what's at stake is trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. So we have this four-way race right now for which will be the first US company to be over $1 trillion. Anyone want to say what these four companies are? Do you know? Apple? Amazon? Alphabet, yes. Also Google, yes. And 97% or so is Google. And what else? Facebook, yeah. They're all basically Microsoft. Microsoft's way up there. Microsoft, people are shocked. Wait, Microsoft is back over $700 billion? Check it out. It sounds unbelievable, but it is. So these companies are kind of like the US Postal Service in 1973. That was the peak of US mail, or vacuum tubes. You know, vacuum tubes had their biggest year, the peak year, and this is their peak year. So where do we go from here? Well, we have, what are attributes of Web 3.0 dApps? This is from a Medium article. It got 27,000 claps. I've never seen one with that many. No central point of control, user ownership of data. And I had a meeting with Union Bank of Switzerland where they said the best business model in the world is Google, because they give you all these apps that are all meant to just grab your data and then promiscuously spray them for money at anybody who will buy it. And we in crypto have better solutions for that. Dramatic reduction of hacks and data breaches, interoperability, many devices on day one, permissionless blockchains can't be prohibited. That's one of the very best features, resistant to censorship, uninterrupted service, and then also, this is something that I added, it's what is in the original article, but it's useful not only for corporations, but also charities, cities, and countries. Now, this is the core of my presentation. Why crypto is predictable and desirable, and it'll be universal. Cryptocurrency, crypto assets, crypto commodities, is based on cryptography. Cryptography is based on math, especially game theory. And the crypto industry is a real-world manifestation of game theory and something that's very cool, gamer theory. Anybody here read the book by Mackenzie Ward, Gamer Theory? Highly recommend it. It says the world is filled with game spaces and that we're all not really as much citizens, residents, subjects, but we're gamers. Entered into a series of contests on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that we can't really exit from without consequences. And this was the basis for Occupy Wall Street, which made a big deal, which was happening here a few blocks from here a number of years ago. Now, here's the deal. We have so much plenty, especially in the United States, Europe, Japan, that we get bored with games that are too hard or too easy. And there has to be a growing quantity and quality and variety of games, and I don't really see any other industry that can vary the difficulty level. If you know about how blocks are produced with Bitcoin, you know that the difficulty of the problems changes so that there's a block of 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes or so. Also, we think about large companies, economies, and countries. They're like big, giant trees. They seem endless. They seem timeless. They seem like their lives are longer than the average human being. But right now, we have these baobab trees in Africa that have lived for thousands of years, all suddenly dying. And similarly, we have all these giant trees that are burning down, all these big companies we just named that are heading towards $1 trillion, which is, by the way, the net present value of all their future profits. But I don't think that they'll be living for 50 or 60 years more. So why do we need new economies, new companies, new blockchains? Because the existing companies and economies burn down sooner or later, and this burning is happening faster. So I'm going to go through 4 phases. What were the past drivers of crypto? From January 4th, 2009, which is when I date the birth of crypto, to January 1st of last year, total crypto value went from $0 to $17.7 billion. It was about novelty. It was fun. It was interesting. Hey, it's something new. And also, there were game items trading and skins. So the company OpSkins, also the token WAX, Worldwide Asset Exchange, does $2 billion a year and has millions of tokenized items. As far as I know, and someone can come up and correct me, that's why I give these talks to put it out there, I think there are more tokenized items in the inventory on OpSkins than there are everywhere else combined. Also, drugs are still very big in this business. They haven't gone away. Money laundering is still very huge. And I think it's the majority of trades in India after the government canceled the large denominations of bills. And so they've created a problem that they're trying to solve by banning cryptocurrency at the same time. And it's caused the Indian economy, which was growing faster than China, to now grow slower than China. And there's speculation in millions of press articles after 100 million% return on Bitcoin, and the fact that the Bitcoin blockchain's never been hacked. So best financial return, best security, we've never had that combo in history. So that was driving the early days. And then also, what's driving them, right about now, up until now? Well, total market cap in the crypto market rose from 17.7 billion to over 800 billion late 2017. Right this minute, like literally at this second, it's 269 billion. And what's amazing about that is if you divide 269 by 800, you get exactly 0.33. So we're exactly 1/3 of the peak. 200 million came from VC, which is why VCs aren't really part of that, with the big exception of Tim Draper, and about 4 to 5 billion from ICOs. You can't put an exact number on this because people, the value of Ethereum, value of Ether has gone up and down, ETH. 44 billion came from forks and airdrops, and there's been a massive but very quiet entry by family offices in Wall Street. So 2 months ago, it was possible to buy spot -12 if you wanted to buy $1 billion or more of Bitcoin. Now you really can't do that. You can maybe get 2-3% off. And also, there are very few sellers and many, many big off-exchange buyers, OTC. So now we come to the future. Okay, these are my big predictions. And I've been making predictions since June 1985. I have over 3,000 pages of predictions with no major mistakes. My big non-consensus prediction from 2 years ago, you can find this on Facebook, was that before the Trump administration leaves office, the Korean Peninsula will be unified. Now, when I put that out, people were going, that's crazy. And 3 months ago, I said this to a room of 500 people in Seoul, Korea. They thought I was really nuts. And then 2 days later, the summit that happened yesterday was happening. But I'm good at guessing. So these are not just the guesses of a madman. They're guesses of a person who's, I don't know, an MIT graduate madman. So total crypto market will rise from 269 billion today to over 5 trillion. Over 100 billion a year will come from forks and airdrops. Over 100 billion a year from security token offerings. I wrote this before I was told by Mo that this would be the security token focused conference, but I think that's the biggest prediction I've heard. Every government by 2025 will turn its fiat into a crypto fiat. There'll be the crypto dollar, the crypto yuan, crypto yen. Facebook will increase crypto holders from 25 million people, that's my guess, number of people who have crypto, to over 2 billion. Google will use utility tokens for machine learning, and there'll be humanoid robots and self-driving cars. And what they'll be doing is they'll be motivated to go and earn tokens. We'll give them that capitalism desire. And now we'll go over the 25 years after the near term. You ready? OK, so total crypto market is going to rise from over 5 trillion to over 25 trillion. And you're going to have tokens to dispose of garbage and pollution. I'm going to spend the rest of the talk, the few minutes that I have, talking about that. You'll have tokens linked to biomarkers for health, anti-aging. You'll need them for insurance. Most smart cities out of China will have their own tokens to access municipal infrastructure. There'll be a New York coin for using the subway. That was the big news this week, that people in New York are getting subsidized tokens, subsidized riding the subway. There'll be a collapse of the fossil fuel economy and the petrodollar by 2030 due to self-driving electric cars. They're going to crash the auto market from 75 million cars a year to about 7.5 million cars a year. And this is the biggest one. All currencies, stocks, bonds, minerals, commodities, real estate, and digital assets will be tokenized. So why do we need to have tokens to get rid of our garbage? That's people plus 7 days of their trash. There's actually a lot more of it. I couldn't fit it all on the page where you could still see the people. And fiat is based on the petrodollar. The petrodollar is based on oil. We're spending $14,000 per person per year for healthcare costs. We have 1.6 million cancer diagnoses each year and 600,000 cancer fatalities. China has 6 million cancer diagnoses each year. I think it's more than 9 million. Costs are over, in my calculation, over $1 trillion from burning fossil fuels. A lot of deaths from pollution. A safe level of carbon dioxide is 350 parts per million. We're now at 410 to 420, which is something we haven't seen since Eohippus was going all around the United States 3 million years ago. And if all the public fossil fuel companies burn what's on their balance sheets, then we'll hit over 600 parts per million, and temperatures will go up 6 degrees centigrade. I wrote a whole book on this, I haven't published, about food security. You'll have massive crop failures, massive starvation, and failed states. And you have typhoons that kill 10,000 people that just rotate. Imagine a tornado rotating over New York for 5 hours. What would happen to the city? Who could survive that if they were outside? And I had dinner and the Queen's birthday with the CEO of Lloyd's of London, Inga Beale, a month ago. And I was telling her this. She hadn't heard the statistic. But if trends continue, losses from weather damage will exceed world GDP. In other words, losses from weather damage are growing much faster than GDP. And that might have been hard to believe, but remember the floods in Houston? Remember we had these 3 hurricanes that devastated Puerto Rico? If you've been to Puerto Rico, it seems kind of empty to me. Rising sea levels will flood coastal cities. And I just thought I'd show this since we're here in New York. After 500 parts per million, New York City becomes New Hydro City, underwater. And this is the last thing. We say that Earth is 70% water, but the truth is that Earth is only about 0.06% water. And so it actually matters that we have a much bigger sensitivity to these things. So that's my prediction of the past, present, future. I'm Alex, Lightman Token Communities, and feel free to friend me on Facebook and say hi and do crypto deals with me and my company. Thank you.